Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, and also good evening from the MIT, Massachusetts, United States, to all participants who are joining us from across Southeast Asia and around the world. My name is Dr. Orawan Sibunruen, Program and Knowledge Management Manager at SEAMEO Regional Center for STEM Education, and Fulbright U.S. ASEAN Research Visiting Scholar at the MIT Media Lab. It is my honor and pleasure to serve as your moderator for today's webinar. On behalf of SEAMEO STEMED and our colleague from the MIT Media Lab, I would like to warmly welcome all educators, researchers, policymakers, school leaders, students, and partners joining us for this special webinar under the theme Human-Centered AI for Education, Ethical AI Literacy and the Future of Learning in Southeast Asia. Before we begin today's program, and as a mark of respect to our honor countries, Thailand, I would like to invite all participants to join us in observing 1 minute of silence in memory of Her Royal Highness Princess Pacharakittiyapha Narendra Thepayawadi. Her Royal Highness will be remembered for her dedication to public service, justice, education, and the advancement of societies. May we now observe 1 minute of silence. Thank you very much. We appreciate your contribution and participation in this moment with my respect. Ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed, I would like to highlight the incredible community gathered with us today. Today's webinar also reflects the growing collaboration between SEAMEO Regional Center for STEM Education and MIT Media Lab, fostered through the Fulbright U.S. ASEAN Visiting Scholar Program. As a part of my scholarly engagement at MIT, this initiative provided an opportunity to connect global expertise with regional educational priorities, bringing together diverse perspectives to explore how human-centered approaches to AI can support learning, innovation, and sustainable development across Southeast Asia and beyond. Now, from the YouTube and the Zoom here, we are joined by 1,000 of people here from 47 countries registered for this event, and approximately 10% is students, 45% is teacher and lecturer, 15% is researcher, and 30% is policymaker and also education leaders. Today's discussion came to at the particularly important moment. AI is transforming how we learn, teach, create, and solve problems. Yet, as AI becomes increasingly integrated into our life, we must ask a critical question. How do we ensure that education remains deeply human? And how do we prepare learners not only to use AI, but also to exercise the wisdom, empathy, ethical judgment, creativity, and responsibility in an AI-enabled world? These are the questions that bring us together today to officially open our program. It is my great honor to invite Dr. Kesara Amon Wutiwon, the Center Director of SEAMEO STEMED, to welcome you all and deliver the opening remarks. Dr. Kesara, the virtual floor is yours. Please. Thank you so much, Dr. Kesra Amon Wittiwan, for your inspiring remark and also highlighting the importance of preparation to our learner and educator for human-centered for AI in the future for Southeast Asia here. And yes, thank you for the reaction here, very lively and also very vibe. Next session, I would like to call on the group photo with our speaker here, Dr. Pat from the MIT, and also to recognize and acknowledge all of you who engaging in the Zoom meeting here today. Please, everyone, open your camera on and also feel free to also share with us the reaction here during the group photo. Yes, may I call on everyone turn on the camera, please? Yes, all the participants, you can also open your camera and then we will also set up the meeting and also my team here will capturing and give us a smile from your face and beautiful smile, please. All right, on my count again. And also whatever reaction or sticker you would like to put on your face, please. 3, 2, 1. Yes, another shot, please. To make sure that we also capturing all of you here. 3, 2, 1. All right, thank you so much. And before we move to the keynote, let's warm up with the room a little bit. Please drop your emoji in the chat box and tell me, how do you feel today, right now? Excited, curiosity, or also inspiring, or anything else, or still feel sleepy now? Please take your coffee and enjoy our webinar. Our speaker today from the MIT in Boston here, Dr. Pattaratnutapon from the MIT Media Lab. He served as the director of cyborg psychology and co-director of the Advancing Human with AI or AHA program at the MIT Media Lab. His work explores the AI is reshaping human learning, creativity, cognition, and well-being at the intersection of AI and human psychology. He is widely known for the pioneering work on the AI and human system, including the Future You will see Future You, what is that? And AI digital twin used in over 100 countries, and for his research on the societal and ethical implication of the AI. He also have received the international recognition, including being named 2 times as the best invention of 2023 and as the co-creator of the Netflix sci-fi anthology series Tomorrow and I. Wow, interesting and incredible, huh? And additionally, he has also collaborated with the NASA, Harvard, Stanford, Microsoft Research, and also OpenAI. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in warmly welcome Dr. Pat Pattaratnutapon. Yes, please, Dr. Pat, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Can you all see my screen? Yes?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Thank you so much. It's an honor and privilege to be here. My name is Pat. I am a researcher and a professor at MIT Media Lab. I want to share a little bit about my research today. The title of my talk is called AI, Humanity, and the Future of Learning. You might have already seen the picture when I was introduced that I really love dinosaur, and that's one of the reasons why I always sort of dress with the spike dress. I don't know how many people love dinosaur here. I'm sure many of your students would love dinosaur, right? So that's why I kind of dress like this. I serve as the director of the cyborg psychology research group at the MIT Media Lab, and also the co-director of the Advancing Humans with AI, or the AHA program. We use the word AHA because we want to figure out the AHA moment where we understand how do we use AI to support human flourishing, not the other way around. So in my work, I explore how technology can empower people, in everyday life, like empower their learning, critical thinking, health and well-being, as well as to go into the place that no one had gone before, like go into the space and beyond. This is me actually in a project that we collaborate with NASA to design the future of spacesuit, for example. But I want to start this presentation by introducing myself, not as an MIT professor, but as this kid, right? I think when we talk about learning and education, we should reflect back on our own sort of learning journey and, what actually led us to today. So you can see the similarity between the two pictures, right? The second picture here, the me in a dinosaur suit. This is when I was, before I gave a TED talk, actually, I think last year, at MIT TEDx. I love dinosaurs so much that I wear this suit. But you can see that I also have that sort of interest in dinosaurs since I was a kid. You can see me kind of dressing in the same style. I was very cute as a baby back then. And I think there's something really, really interesting looking back at your education journey. So a baby Pat, right? Pat, this is probably when I was 10 years old. I grew up in Pattani. I don't know how many people know Pattani, but it's a really, really beautiful city in the south part of Thailand. It's like by the ocean, it's the peninsula area. You see, incredible culture, amazing seafood. I grew up loving seafood, and growing up by the beach. So it's really, really beautiful. I think the sort of that environment really stimulated me to be very imaginative. Since I was a kid, I really, loved dinosaur. Even though I did not like going to school, I love dinosaur very much. But because they don't teach dinosaur at school, I kind of question, why do I go to school and learn all these things like mathematics, science, and whatsoever? Why can't I just like be with my dinosaur? But my parents, who are also educators, my mom's a professor at education, my dad is an economist. They figure out that, okay, to get Pat to go to school, maybe we need to connect that to dinosaur. So my mom said that, well, if you want to draw your own dinosaur, or create or paint your own dinosaur, you need to learn art subjects, right? You need to learn how to paint, how to draw, color, and everything. You need to learn to be creative. And also, if you want to understand dinosaur at a deeper level, you need to understand biology, science, mathematics, and all of this, because that is how you can actually understand what happened, to dinosaur. Why did it go extinct? The biology of dinosaur, and so on, right? And because of this, I grew up sort of seeing that, the art and science are never separated from one another. They are very connected. And I think that is a really, really a very interesting way to have that sort of holistic learning experience. As I continue in my, education journey, after the dinosaur, I became very interested in science, right? Understanding what the scientists are doing to understand dinosaur, but also the world around us, the universe, what happened inside our body, future technology. I became very interested in, being a scientist. And what does it mean for them to kind of discover new knowledge and contribute to the advancement of humankind? It's very unfortunate however, that, as I grow up, as I also try to dress up as Einstein as well, not just dinosaur, to celebrate my love for science. However, it was kind of unfortunate a little bit that by the time when I grew up with, Thai education system doesn't really emphasize, passion or curiosity. It tried to box every student into, the same thing, right? You need to take the test and exam, and, that's how you advance in your career. It's not about what you learn, what you're passionate about, or what you're curious about in learning. Everyone kind of, put in the same box, which is kind of really sad. But that doesn't really stop my curiosity. I still want to learn how to be a scientist and, invent technologies and think about the future, as well as, looking at that, my dinosaur. But one day, the moment that changed my life is when I actually watched a TED Talk by Professor Patty Mars. She's one of the most famous professor at MIT. She gave one of the most watched TED Talk ever in early 2000. The TED Talk that she created is called the Sixth Sense Project. she introduced these really, really futuristic devices that allow you to project information everywhere. This is the beginning of wearable technology, or the idea of human augmentation, that we can actually, create devices that integrate seamlessly with the human body. When you look at this, right, this is very futuristic, very sci-fi. It's actually what I've seen in cartoon and science fiction that I grew up with. And I think of Patty as sort of the real life, like Iron Man, like the real heroes. This is my reaction after watching the TED Talk. I was super inspired, seeing, wow, there is a scientist, a researcher in the real world that are inventing the future of technology for humanity. I'm super inspired. I want to be like her. That sort of like, really bring my dream of being a scientist to reality, that I've seen my role model. I want to be like Patty and be able to kind of invent this tool and present it to the world. So at that time, I was a high school student, in an exchange student actually in the United States. I was a exchange student in Oregon. So I start to kind of take an inspiration from what Patty made, right? Like this really futuristic interface, and start making a DIY, do it yourself version where I made at school, with the help of my computer science teacher, right? He helped me make this project, which is like really inspired. And then I actually sent an email to Patty attaching, what I made. I posted on YouTube and sent it to Patty. You can see that, my email was not very professional. You can see different font. This is like an email from a high school kid, right? Like me as a high school student, I did not know much. I just, was genuinely interested in, what Patty had done. And I sent an email to Patty. And it was really amazing that actually Patty wrote back to me. She was really encouraging. Like the first word was great work. That was like, getting an email from your hero, right? It was really life changing. And after that moment, I know that I will spend my career thinking about future technology and human computer interaction, and finally I became a student of Patty at MIT. And after I finished my PhD, I was fortunate that MIT hired me back as a professor. So I'm now the colleague of Patty, who is my, personal hero. So that's sort of my education journey, how I get here to MIT. And now, as a researcher, I'm part of the MIT Media Lab, which is a really, really exciting place. The word media in the Media Lab is not like, social media or television or internet. The media is in the sense of medium. The Media Lab focus on medium, that connect human to new possibility, connect human to other human, connect human to a learning opportunity, many things, right? We work on medium because medium is the things that create transformation, right? We don't just work on technology for technology's sake. We think of technology as a medium for education, medium for health, medium for equality, medium for, human flourishing. We focus on technology, not the end in itself, but as a path to positive social outcomes. And the Media Lab consists of many research groups, right? You might have heard of Cynthia Brazil work. She ran the direct and direct personal robot groups and personal robots group that and had done a lot of work on AI in education. Now, as a faculty, I run the research group called Cyborg Psychology, and I'm going to tell you in a moment what it's about, and also the AHA program, which cut across different research groups that focus on AI and human impact. So in my research group, we develop what we call cyborg psychology technology. This is centered on the two term, right? Cyborg and psychology. Cyborg is a really interesting term. You might have heard it in science fiction or in movies, right? It's about how human and technology come together. You have seen like superhuman heroes, Iron Man, right? But originally the word cyborg came from a scientific paper about how can human remain human in the age of technology, right? How can we be cyborg while still be human at the same time? And the psychology is the study of human mind and behavior, right? So in our group, we try to understand as human become more and more integrated with technology, becoming a cyborg, how do we ensure that we are still learning, we still having our human emotion, we still make our own decision, not being overpowered by AI, right? We want to understand how AI and technology shape human psychology and also use the insight about human psychology to design better technology that work with us and help us become a better person, right? That's the mission of my research group, investigating how AI impact human psychology and also applying psychology for inventing better AI. In the area of investigating AI and human psychology, we have done a lot of work, and in fact, we have one of the largest research collection on how AI impact human psychology across different scale. You might have seen a study from our group that took a look at AI and cognitive offloading, right? The cognitive debt that when people use ChatGPT, they don't think very much. That actually came from the AHA program that I co-direct, and we also look at AI impact on other area as well. We work with companies to make sure that these AI are actually safe, and also policymakers as well to make sure that we have policy that really support the development of technology in the right way, right? Technology can be good or bad. How do we help policymaker regulate the bad technology while promoting the good technology? We also applying this what we learn about psychology to design better AI system, and you will hear in my presentation today different kind of project that we are doing, from AI digital twin that help kids think about the future, interface that allow us to actually talk to animal, and also create tools that allow us to understand and go inside the AI model, because most of the AI model today is a black box. We want to make an AI open box by creating interpretable AI. So this is sort of the mission of the Cyborg Psychology Group. And in addition to that, we also run a public program as well. For example, we run a symposium recently called Raised by AI. And this is a symposium that, trying to understand how AI impact human psychology and human flourishing. We are against AI raising baby, right? This picture is served as a provocation. We don't think that it's a good idea to have AI raising children, but we are asking, how can AI raise people up, right? Raise everyone to their full potential, not raising the baby, but raising human potential up so that we all can live up to our potential. And we have incredible speakers that came and talk about how do we do that, right? I think this is really, really important that AI is not one thing. There's something that is good and something that is bad. Our mission is to figure out how can we do it. And that actually how I think about my own research. We're thinking about super intelligence, like what technology is giving us, but also super stupidity. If we are not careful with technology that we develop, we might lead humanity into this sort of, creating the race of super stupidity people, right? This is really, really dangerous. So I think that's why we need to understand it and doing research on this so we can figure out how do we do this. So, in the context of today's presentation, I have three ideas for AI and education I want to share with you all. I think this meant to serve as a sparking sort of idea of how can we think about AI and education in the future with with the more and more prevalent of technology being integrated. The first idea, draw from my own experience as a kid who loved dinosaur, right? Right now, when we think about AI, we think about AI, scaffolding learning or giving away answer, or does student cheat with AI. But the other picture that we can think about is, how can we use AI to make learning more fun, personalized, and meaningful, right? If you love dinosaur, how can you use AI to make learning be more connected to the thing the student passionate about or want to learn, so that the learning can be much more meaningful and fun for the student? I work on AI characters before it became mainstream, and that is the idea that we're particularly interested in. Can we use this virtual character, this AI, so to create learning that are personalized? So if you like Harry Potter, or you like Elsa from Frozen, or any of your favorite character, you can actually have them as a virtual teacher that can actually help the teacher make the content more personalized. I want to be very clear that we are not thinking about using AI to replace human teacher, but use AI as the guest lecturer, right? Maybe you bring Einstein to class, or you bring Iron Man to class, or you create personalized session. The student can actually interact with virtual character based on their interest, right? And we did an experiment where we create virtual Elon Musk. I don't know, we can repeat this experiment because I think Elon Musk was a much cooler person when we start this experiment. Now I think a lot of people hate him for some reason. But I think the idea still stands that if you create an AI that is based on the person the student want to learn from, we can increase student learning motivation, right? And motivation is important. Learning should be fun, should be meaningful, and learning from someone that you connect with, right, can really increase learning motivation. And our study have shown this. Another study that we have done also looking at you can use AI like ChatGPT to make learning material personalized. Like okay, how do you teach Newtonian physics using dinosaur, or how do you teach vocabulary using Roblox, right? AI could help make that content more personalized so the student can relate it to the learning material. And we did this in the study called Putting Things in Context. Generative AI enable content personalization for vocabulary learning, where we use AI to make example about the vocabulary, like you learn new word, and when you learn vocabulary, you see how the vocabulary is used in the sentence. We make that sentence relevant to the thing the student are interested in, whether it's dinosaur, Harry Potter, Roblox, jet TikTok or whatever, and we see that students become more motivated to learn from this, right? So I think it's really important that we center the experience of learning on the human experience. How do we increase human agency, curiosity, creativity, and all of this, right? It's really, really important. Another example I want to highlight is that we don't just work on virtual Elon Musk or virtual characters, right? Like we can do this very well. We can make virtual character of anyone, and now it's easier to make AI content, right? It's really exciting and stimulating, but it still need to be supervised by the student, by the teacher, right? Here, we also kind of want to take that concept further and think about, can we use AI not just to create a simulation of someone else, but of the student themselves? You can see this is an avatar of me, but not of the current me, of my future me. This is me at 60 years old, right? I still look very handsome, I think, even though I'm, a little bit older. And the reason behind this is that we want to help students and kids think in the long term, right? A story that my parents always tell me growing up is that, oh, if you don't pay attention to classroom, you're gonna go in the future, you might be a homeless or you might be a beggar, like you will not have a good career. So you need to imagine what you yourself gonna become, right? So I think that's really, really important. But imagination of the future self sometimes is very hard, right? You may not always remember or know exactly what you want to do or what that future might look like. So here we use an AI avatar to actually allow the kid to talk to their future self. We run a lot of experiment and we show that this type of intervention actually increase long-term thinking or future self continuity. It also increase student motivation and also reduce anxiety as well. And this is really exciting because we also look at not only showing one future, right? Because we want to give kids agency and ability to pick and choose. So we create an avatar that actually highlight 3 different future. What if a kid want to be a doctor, an engineer, or a scientist, or an artist, a politician, like different career, an AI can visualize the kid in different role, and they can talk to different version of themselves. And what we have shown is that if you only show one side or one option, right, you tend to actually bias the person to choose that option. But if you show both sides, you can actually give them sort of more balanced perspective and they will be able to choose more freely. But the most interesting thing is that if you give the option like option C, right, the student coming in with, okay, doctor or engineer, but the technology can give you option C, showcasing or presenting the options that the kid never considered before. And we see in this graph that student and kids can actually, more interest can actually switch to that even more than they initially thought about. So AI could expand people horizon, right? It can expand their aspiration, help them consider career choice that they never considered before. And this is really, really important. So with this Future You project, we have launched it, we make it publicly available, and it has been used by 190 countries around the world. It won the World Changing Ideas Award. And now I'm actually going to Bangkok actually today to actually test this with low income children, because I think that it's really, really important that we help everyone have the same level of imagination, right? I'm working with a foundation who have been working with, reducing inequality in education. And there are a lot of work on sort of, financial support, but we also need imagination support so that kids from low income background can imagine themselves in all the kind of career and have a successful life in the future. To start with, mindset and imagination of what their future self could become. So I'm really excited to start that research and see what happened. So this is sort of the first area I want to highlight, that when we think about AI and learning, it's not just about improving grade or doing well on test score. It's about imagination. It's about curiosity. It's about motivation. And we need to think about AI not just technology in itself, but a means, a medium for human flourishing. So going beyond just AI and thinking about the outcome that we want. Right? These are the different dimensions that AI can help us with. I think it's really important that we don't just fix on one area, but all the area that are part of human experience. The second idea that I want to share with you all in the concept of future of education is actually inspired by this picture. This is a picture from the 19th century. This is what this is actually from France. This is what French people think about education in year 2000. What learning in year 2000 would look like, right? So you have this tool that basically download information into kid. Maybe that's the AI of today, right? Just give information to kid. You have, this machine. You see, like a teacher is put the book into the machine, and the machine kind of turn this book into knowledge, into data, right? And maybe that's the LLM or that's the ChatGPT that basically digests the data and dumped it into kid. And you need to ask, like, who is this guy, right? Maybe it's a tech CEO that just like make things moving. I think this is an interesting picture because it is, even though they talk about the future, right? It is the factory model of education. Everyone get exactly the same knowledge, right? There's no context, there's no personalization, there's no knowledge creation. Like the kids are not expressing themselves, they are not making things. They just, getting information dumped into them, right? This is a factory model of education. And the reason I bring this picture up is because as we think about new technology like AI and auto technology, we need to think what technology is supporting, what paradigm of learning are we supporting, right? Are we using new technology for old pedagogy? Are you using new technology to teach in a way that is already obsolete, right? Like I think we can all agree that just giving information is not enough. We need the kids to have agency, to be imaginative, to solve problem, to have self-motivation so that they can go and live in this complex and difficult world, right? They need to also learn how to, protect themselves mentally so that they can grow into a well-rounded person. So I think we need to ask, with new technology, what are we teaching? What are we using the technology to teach for, right? I was fortunate that I grew up with, a Media Lab project. Actually, this is a Lego Mindstorm, which was a project that Media Lab did with Lego back then. And the idea was that kids should not just learn information, but should make information by making things happen. I grew up with Lego and, making things. And I was also fortunate that when I was in high school, I was part of the government project called the Junior Science Talent Project, where they pair a student who loves science with real scientists, so they can learn to do scientific project and learn research at the early career and early sort of age. And also part of this sort of enrichment program where kids from around different part of Thailand come together actually to be part of this science camp that help them learn and make things and use Lego and all these different experiment, right? So it's an education project by the Thai government at the time. It's kind of sad that this program is gone, similar to many great program in Thailand because of the political instability. This program is gone, but that memory stick with me, right? The ability to make things happen, to use your hand in the hands-on learning experience is really, really important. And as a I also after I kind of graduate from the program, I also come back and help design some of the curriculum in the program as well. I think this is in 2016, I think, or even earlier than that. We make one of the earlier camp focusing on AI, and the theme is kids making AI, right? And this is like before ChatGPT. This is like before machine learning was mainstream. We create an educational program where kids learn to make their own AI, and we make it kind of contextually relevant. We make a game where the kid need to use AI to figure out which mango is sweet and which one is sour. Thailand is an agricultural country, so we want to make AI relevant to that context and help kids actually learn how to make AI. So they actually create and compete in creating AI that better figure out which mango is sweet or which mango is sour. So they learn machine learning concept, they learn data science, and also have a lot of fun. And we publish this in IEEE Frontier of Education. You can Google it and see the curriculum that we develop here. It was really, really fun. So I think, it's coming back to the question of like new pedagogy. What are we using the AI for, right? We have been doing a lot of work on using AI to actually kind of promote a new kind of learning where AI not just give away the answer, but serve as a tool that stimulate the question. This is a wearable reasoner. It's an AI system that help the student develop critical thinking by questioning the assumption that the student might actually encounter in their daily life. We show that when AI is asking question, like in Socratic method, it can improve critical thinking, right? AI is not one thing. Some AI is good and some AI can actually have negative impact. So I think that's really important to figure out what AI behavior is. The AI giving the answer or the AI asking the question, because it can have different outcome and different result. We also think about other kind of co-creation with AI as well, especially in the context of Southeast Asia. How do we use AI in the way that preserve our own cultural heritage? This is a project where I collaborate with a national artist in Thailand, Pichet Granchun, who is a really incredible Thai performance artist who have been studying Thai traditional dance. And what we did together was we create AI that is not based on Western knowledge or tradition, but based on Thai cultural knowledge. And we don't have big data, right? We only have small data of Thai dance. So we create a different kind of AI, a smaller AI that actually allow us to actually embody the traditional wisdom in the dance into creating this AI system, so that the human dancer can actually improvise with the AI. And the reason I mention this in the context of education is that we also create a web experience where teacher can actually use this AI to teach cultural heritage in the classroom, right? So the student will not only learn history, but be part of history using AI that is based on the DNA of Thai traditional dance to come up with their own movement, right? Using AI as a tool for co-creation and coming up with new cultural expression. We recently did a workshop last month, actually, where we bring teachers to try this tool, and they actually really enjoy using this because kids can actually make AI use the AI to make new dance movement that is still based on the cultural tradition and post on TikTok, and create content that is still respect the tradition but advance it forward as well, right? So I think this is a way that we can use AI to amplify new ways of learning and new ways of co-creation. The last idea that I want to share with you all in the context of education is on the area that I think a lot of people are concerned, right? That, we can look at the positive thing, but there are many negative outcomes that's happening in the world of AI today. I wrote an essay that we need to prepare for addictive intelligence. AI could be very addictive and make people so attached to it that they don't go and live their own life, right? And we have seen many negative impact, like AI making the education, like not making student not learn in school, degrade critical thinking, impacting emotional well-being, and so on. I think it's important to maintain critical optimism, right? You can see two articles that I wrote, one where I'm really careful, when I'm really cautious about addictive intelligence, and another one where I say, well, AI can be used for learning, right? These are two opposite area, but it's really, really important because we need both of these at the same time, right? We need oops. Yeah, we need to be optimistic about the future, but also critical as well. Critical optimism is really, really important. We did a lot of work on this, like for example, trying to understand what AI behavior contribute to negative social outcome. We did a collaboration with OpenAI that showed that, you know, if you spend time on AI, it can lead to people become lonelier and less socialized with other human beings. Even though we work with company, we publish this negative result because it's important. Our work also contribute to policymakers. You know, this is a policy that recently came out in California, and they use our study as an inspiration for this. So there are a lot of research that are happening right now where we can figuring out what is good AI, right? I think there's so many terminology: human center, responsible AI, ethical AI. But we need to get into the question of like, what is actually a good AI? And with that, one of the research that we are doing to kind of make that more clear is to create a new kind of benchmark, right? Benchmark is the thing that we use for understanding how AI impact different areas. So far, most of the benchmark are focusing on what the model can do. Can it answer a question correctly or not? Or can it, you know, do X, Y, and Z? But here, what we are doing is creating benchmark based on how it impact different areas of human experience. Like you can look at the benchmark of AI impact on learning and look at, okay, which AI model is providing, you know, answer rather than questioning, which model avoid direct answer, which model avoid passive learning method and promote active learning method. We can actually figuring out and be able to compare different AI model, which one is better than another. Similar to what we think about nutrition label, right? You can see which food is more nutrition, has more nutrition, which food is more like a fast food and not so healthy. We are developing AI nutrition label so that, you know, student, teacher, parents can look at this, right? You can see, you know, like similar to like how much cholesterol are you getting or how much calorie are you getting. You can look at how much sycophancy are you getting from AI, how much toxicity are you getting from AI, which AI is supporting learning well-being. You can see which one, some model like D plus or some got B plus, depending on behavior that the model have, right? So I think that's something that we can do to really promote this kind of thinking. We already have making some impact by creating this benchmark on AI impact on psychosocial outcomes. Like here we can see which model contribute to depression, anorexia, addiction, psychosis, suicide, and homicide already. And this is already sort of something that can be really, really powerful in helping policymakers and even the user as well use AI more responsibly, because they can anticipate what AI would do before they start using it. So these are the three areas of three ideas of AI and the future of education, right? We need to center AI and learning on the human experience, not just on grade or you know, improvement on outcome, but really think about what are all the learning experience that AI can help with. We need to think about what AI and how AI can empower pedagogy, right? And what pedagogy is it empowering? Are we using new technology to support old pedagogy, or are we using new technology to teach in a different way? And finally, we need to stay critical, look at all the negative outcome of AI, but also think about what can we do to kind of use this tool responsibly, you know, making things that are visible, like, you know, what I talk about, the AI nutrition label that can make behavior about the AI more visible to parents, teacher, student, and beyond. I think I really agree with what Angela Duckworth said, that in the age of AI, students need teacher more, not less. You know, I think this argument is really, really beautiful because, you know, as technology is advancing, AI can have impact for, you know, positive impact or negative impact for learning, but it's the teacher who need to hold space for that to happen, right? Because technology will not make learning better in itself. It's the people that use technology, who understand technology and understand the goal of learning and education, who can use the technology to support that process. You know, if you understand this, then we as a society can, you know, foster the culture of how we use technology to support super intelligence, not super stupidity. With that, I want to end with this picture. This is a picture that, you know, make me sad every time I show it, but it's really important that I think in the world today, where more and more, you know, technologists, people in power are celebrating or are raising to make technology that are more and more like human, right? We are humanizing the machine, making machine more and more like human, speak like us, talk like us, think like us. It's really sad that many parts of the world are mechanizing the human, turning humans into a kind of robot, turning human into a kind of machine, don't have individuality, don't have expression, don't have creativity, box into kind of factory output, right? So I think this is a really sad paradox that we need to rethink, and I think education is a big part of it. How can we use humanized machine to make student, to make the learner, to make future generation more human than ever, not using humanized machine to dehumanize us, to turn human into robot, but use humanized machine to make human more human than ever. With that, thank you very much, and really excited for this community to continue to grow and for AI to support the learning and the future of human flourishing. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Wow, this is very, very cool and incredible presentation that I have so much enjoyable learning from Dr. Pat. And Dr. Pat, we have a lot of questions from the YouTube channel. And right now, I would like to bring it to the next session and also bring up the question here. Can I have the presentation of the question from? All right, let's begin with the translation of the question. Question one. Number one is talking about when we talk about the human-centered AI, what does the word of human mean to you personally? And also, what should never be delegate to AI in education, Dr. Pat?
Yeah, I think the word human is really important. And I think right now when we think about this term, right, I say that there's so many terms right now. I think the question that we need to figure out is like, okay, what is a good AI or what is a bad AI? I saw another comment, right, that I think is concerned about addictive intelligence, that, if AI can make people addicted, why do we introduce this to students, right? That is coming back to this question, which is that there are some AI that is really good at something, right? It's like internet. Depend, are you going to like, a game website, or are you going to education website? AI is like an umbrella term. There's some good AI and some bad AI. So I think the role of the educator is to figure out, okay, how do we test the AI and figure out how it can be used in a context that promote learning? So in this case, I think when we use the word human center, we should think about the human experience that we want the AI to create or foster, right? Is it addiction is also part of human experience, right? But we don't want that. We want education, not addiction. So I think understanding what kind of human experience or what kind of human development do we want in the age of AI, that's sort of what the human center means. Yeah.
This is very fantastic perspective. And let's move to the next question. We received this question. If a student graduated in the next 10 years were
Yeah.
sitting in front of us today, what human quality or capability would you most hope they possess, regardless of how advanced AI become?
This is an amazing question. I got a lot of questions like this from parents and teachers and many people. There are three things that I think are important. The first thing is that we need to understand that the problems that we are facing as a society today, whether it's climate change, inequality, many issues like government instability, many of these issues will not solve itself. You cannot prompt ChatGPT and say, okay, ChatGPT, go solve global inequality, right? AI doesn't do that. It's the people who understand the problem, who care about other human being, who use technology sufficiently that can solve this problem and make our world better. So I think, with that understanding, we should think about empowering the student to learn all the things that they need to learn to go and become sort of the world changer, the shaper of tomorrow, right? Because I think if they can understand themselves as a contributor, not just the passive receiver, then they will be able to actually have self autonomy, feel that their life is meaningful. I think it will improve their mental health as well, because you feel that you're part of a bigger community, you're part of a bigger sort of experience of humanity, right? So I think in a way, when kids graduating 2035, I want them to have that mindset that, okay, the world today is so messed up. People previous generation, they had done horrible thing. Now with new technology, with new knowledge, with new ability, we might be able to kind of unwind some of this and do something that actually good for everyone, right? And I hope that they have empathy and the ability to relate to one another, maybe people that they never interact with, people that are less privileged than them, so that we can create society where everyone flourish, not just the rich who get richer and richer, like Elon Musk is now a trillionaire, right? How can we create a society where people become more empathetic than one another, want to care for one another? Because AI will not have empathy for us. It's us that can use AI to help other people, but not the other way around. So I think, having empathy, ability to see the world problems and see themselves as part of a solution, which I think will contribute to sort of them being more empowered in the end. I think these are the three things that I think would be really important for children and kids growing up in the future. Yeah.
Yeah, very inspiring indeed. For the next question from the policymaker, I think question number 3 for this. As educators, what kind of relationship should students have with AI to compete with it, collaborate with it, or guide it? How should curricula prepare students for this relationship? Yeah, from Brunei
I think
Darussalam.
all these are really good. I mean, I think the most important thing is for kids to experiment with supervision, right? Like, what is important is that kids get to actually experiment with this. They will learn what is it good with, what is it good at, what is it bad at. We should challenge them to figure out, okay, what can AI do that is so good? What AI cannot do? What you think AI can do, but you still want to do? I think it's a mistake right now when people say, well, if AI can do this, humans should not do it, right? Like, we have a car that can go very fast. We have a plane that can travel across continent, but we still walk, right? Like, it doesn't mean the fact that technology can do something doesn't mean that humans should not do that thing. I think asking what the student want to do, right? What are they curious about? What are they passionate about? And then see how technology can fit into that picture. I think it's important. You need to start from the student, not from the technology. So in a way, encouraging experimentation and self-reflection, and help them poke at the technology, what is good at, what is bad at, and I mean, we may not always have the answer, right? Like, these two are changing so quickly, but I think the most important thing is to have the ability to self-reflect with the adult who also may not have all the answer neither, and that's okay. I think we can self-reflect together and learn together and experiment together. I think that's the kind of relationship that will be helpful for the future.
I see. Yes, for the next question, please. Yes, as a human-centered judgment often relies on the tacit knowledge and experience developed over many years. How can education help students cultivate this uniquely human capability in the AI-driven world? This from
That's a
Singapore.
really important question. I think the important thing, as I said, is that, student need teacher more than ever, because, teacher can create and hold space for learning. As I said, AI can just give away sort of, like a fast food knowledge, right? Like, something very quick, that the student may not even need to internalize or learn. But I think the process of education is the internal process of development, and the teacher need to sort of hold space for that, whether creating an experience where the student can sort of work with their hand, or work with themselves without technology. Maybe they can compare their result with technology and say, okay, what did they get right, what did they get wrong, what did technology get right, what did technology get wrong, right? I think it's a process of understanding and exploration, that need to happen, where in kind of safe environment that the teacher need to hold for the student. I think that's a really, really important.
Thank you for the response. And we still have some time here. May I call on the next question, please? Yes, this is from Indonesia. While AI enable personals
Yes.
and learning may reduce social interaction among the student, how can we leverage AI's benefit without compromising collaboration, empathy, and social development?
This is a really important question. I don't think we need to pick one or another, right? Personalized learning can happen in the social context as well. Like, you can have an education experience where student maybe get some kind of learning material that's personalized to them, but that is a process of sharing with other people. Like, what did they learn? What is their perspective? Why did they learn differently than, and kind of create that kind of social interaction after a personalized session, right? I don't think you need to pick one or another. You can create a combination of both.
I see. Yes, we have a lot of questions here. Go for the next question, please. And from even the YouTube, yes, this is from Timor-Leste. How can educators effectively teach students to use AI responsibly, ethically, and critically, rather than relying on it as a substitute for the learning and independent thinking? Yeah.
Amazing question. It starts with motivation, right? Like you want to motivate your kid or your student to understand why learning is fun and cool. Because I think that's what would get them excited, right? I think there's a study saying that to get kids to actually eat vegetable, you need to tell them like kind of a story like, oh, there might be some evil people that want to get you like fat and unhealthy. Would you want to give them? Would you want to kind of be that, or would you rather have something that's actually good for you? So by kind of challenging the kid to kind of think for themselves a little bit, you can actually give them agency and autonomy to pick the right choice for themselves. So in a way, I think you need to start with motivation, and help them sort of figure out like, okay, what happened when you are using AI to substitute their thinking? What happened to them? Like, what do they feel? Do they feel like they're learning? Do they feel that they're proud of it? And right, like, I don't think it's not just about like saying no, but help the student discover that knowledge themselves, right? Because then they will understand why they're being told in a certain way. If you say, oh, don't use AI in this way or that way, student always want to rebel, right? Like they're rebellious. They want to sort of go in a different direction. They might actually, do the opposite. So maybe just like, okay, go ahead, use AI to substitute thinking and see what you feel. And I think many kids will actually come back and like, oh, actually, I don't like it. There are a lot of study already showing that, kids realize that it's actually bad for them in the same way, like they want to, like similar to the vegetable example I mentioned, like they don't want the parents or the adult to manipulate them. So if you tell them that, the AI company that want the kid to get addicted to it, they're like, no, I don't want to be manipulated by adult. I want to be, on my own. So that might be a way that you can actually make the student realize for themselves what do they want to, what they might actually want. Yeah.
Thank you. I see. For the next question, please. Yes, how can educators effectively balance AI-powered learning tools with the development of the students' critical thinking, creativity, and other human-centered skills?
Yeah, I think going back to my first point in the presentation, that we need to consider all of these as part of the human experience, right? I think helping students learn what they like, and also not just what they like in general, but what they like to like. This is what in psychology is called second order desire. We might want hamburger, but what we want is actually healthy food. Like we might want to X, but what we want it might be something that is actually aspirational and good. So helping the student reflect on not just what they want, but what they want to want is important. And for critical thinking, creativity, and auto human centered skill, there are a lot of research on what AI behavior is good, right? Like for example, critical thinking, we learn from our study that when the AI asks question, but ask it in a way that is like, not like scaffolding the critical thinking, it can actually promote that process even more. Like, you should think of it as sort of like the bicycle for the mind, right? Bicycle help people go faster, but it's also help you strengthening your muscle as well as you ride a bicycle, right? We should think about what kind of interaction with technology is kind of like the bicycle for the mind, that when you use the technology, you go faster, but when you don't use it, you also in the process learn something that you can really strengthen your own muscle, right? So I think that's really, really important. Yeah.
Wow, this is very incredible.
Yeah.
And may I have another last question
Sure.
here, please?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
thank you so much. Can we go for the question that yes, my team, I think this is from Thailand, right? How can small and rural school leverage AI to improve learning opportunities while maintaining human value, equity, and student well-being?
Absolutely. I think this is really, really important. I think there are a lot of work that need to happen to make this, happen, right? Like I think in rural areas, we need to think about infrastructure. Like, do we even have like internet, or do we even have like, computer and platform? And maybe it's a good thing, right? Maybe AI should not be always available. Maybe there is a special session that students should use AI for. We're still in the early day of how to integrate AI into learning, and there are many ways that it could go. I think what we need to do is to continue to experiment and ask, is this actually improving or it's actually degrading, right? And we need to remember that AI is not one thing. Similar to internet is not one thing. There are many websites, there are many content. We need to figure out what design choices or what specificity, what specific about AI is good for learning and what is bad for learning. Similarly, like internet is good, but it can be good in certain contexts. So I think having that sort of reflection and continue the curiosity to continue to experiment. I think everyone should experiment, right? Because I think what is good in one context, like in the rural areas, AI, certain thing about AI could be helpful, but then in urban area, maybe the other aspect of AI could be helpful. And in some context, we should not use AI, and in some other context, we should use AI. It could vary from student to student, from school to school, from area to area. So I think the most important thing is to be curious, to be open-minded, to be critical, not accept that everything is going to be good, right? Be critical, but be optimistic that we can do something about it. And from that experiment and reflection, we'll figure out the way. I think that's, really important, to be critical and optimistic.
Critical and optimistic. This is very, very important. Thank you, Dr. Pat. And I think we need to end the question
Thank
and
you
the
so
Q&A
much.
session here. However, we still have so many questions, and I think this is a very interesting session. And I will also share with you the question that from the audience, and somehow, yes, the audience here can also reach Dr. Pat personally, perhaps in the
Yes,
email.
my email is public, and I will put it in the group chat as well. My email is pat@mit.edu, very convenient. If you have any other question, feel free to reach out, and it's an honor to be here. I think all of you are doing amazing work. You're gonna really ensure that future generation can, flourish. It's not the AI or technology, it is the human connection. It is, the passion of the teacher who want to support the student, that will use the technology to do it. So I believe in the future, not because of the technology, but because of the people. So thank you so much for all the work that you're doing. And if anything that we can do at MIT, our research can be helpful to you, please feel free to reach out. And thank you so much. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you again, Dr. Pat. We are so happy and we are so proud of you. Yes, and also welcome back to the Bangkok, as you have to fly back tonight also. And also keep in touch. Yeah, thank you so much. Oh, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, how do you feel now? Please share with me the sticker. How are you feeling after learning from Dr. Pat? And of course, I would like to ask you here, after you learning from Dr. Pat, what will you bring it to apply in your classroom or your organization? Please also share with me, how will you plan using this experience and knowledge during this webinar to plan or implement in your classroom, school, country, or your organization? You can also put it in the chat box here, and also I will also very happy to gathering all of your idea, your thought, your plan here in the future and share with Dr. Pat. And yes, as Dr. Pat has mentioned, he's free, yes, to email him, and his email is already in the chat box. And while I'm waiting for your response here, yes, please allow me. We need to conclude, and we would like to also bring it back to the closing session and closing remark. I would like to, yes, officially invite Dr. Kesara. Sorry, may I have? Yes, please. Sorry. May I also introduce here for the closing remark, Assistant Professor Dr. Brin, the Senior Program Manager of SEAMEO STEMED, Regional Center for the STEM Education, to deliver the closing remark officially here. Please, Dr. Burin.
Thank you, Dr. Distinguished speaker, Dr. Pat, participants, colleagues, and friends. As we conclude today's webinar, I would like to extend our sincere appreciation to Assistant Professor Dr. Pataranuporn from MIT Media Lab for sharing his valuable insight and inspiring perspective on the future of education. Today, discussion reminds us that while AI is advancing rapidly, education must remain human-centered. Technology would empower learners, strengthen communities, preserve cultural heritage, and expand opportunity rather than repress human potential. We explore important topics, including AI literacy, human-AI collaboration, and future learning ecosystem. This conversation highlights our shared responsibility to prepare learners for a rapidly changing world. For Southeast Asia, collaboration is a key. By working together across education, research, policy, and industry, we can develop inclusive and meaningful approaches that benefit our diverse community. SEAMEO STEMED remains committed to strengthening partnerships, including with MIT Media Lab and regional institutions, to advance AI education and innovation for teachers and learners. Thank you to our speaker, moderator, organizing team, and our participants for your active engagement. We look forward to continuing this conversation in our upcoming webinar. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Dr. Brain, for the inspiring and supporting message that support this webinar. And yes, and this is the last but not least. Let me bring you to the audience here. Don't stop to send us whatever in your thought now. If you still have a question or the curious to know more about something here today, please submit your inquiry or question and send to us in the chat box. As I promised, I will gather all of that and send to Dr. Pat, and so he can also respond to your inquiry or question. And let me recap and synthesize what you also sent to us via the chat box right now today. Who is in the room today? Yes, we have 70% of the front line of the teacher, lecturer, and the student. Tonight is very good to have the student to joining us here. 20% is the researcher, educator, and the specialist. And also for 10% is the governant. That's you call yourself as the administrator and policy maker across 47 countries right now. Yes, the next slide, please. And when I asking you for the inquiry, you know how many questions that we have? 80 unique questions that submit to us that highlight the human identity, ethic, and also creativity. And 30% this highlight on the ethic and human identity. For the 25% highlight on the pedagogy and implementation. 15% assessment and integrity, and also 15% policy and governance. 10% would like to address on the future trends and AI status. And also for 5% would like to talking about the logistic and engagement. Yeah, this come from all of you. Thank you so much. Next slide, please. And this is when I asked you, how did you plan to implementation for the strategy? 50% of you answered that you would like to bring it to your classroom and the instructional integration. 25% talk about the professional knowledge sharing to your colleague or your friend or your organization itself. 15% highlight that you would like to bring it to your institutional and governance and also the policy. And 10% highlight that talking about the research and also academic advancement, and also still highlight on the integrated and literacy of the AI or policy or ethic and responsible for the AI. Yes. Wow, this is the data that you also being a part, and thank you so much for your support on this webinar. And last one that I would like to request from you, and the next or the upcoming from the part 2, yes, for the webinar series part 2 from the SEAMEO STEM Ed and the MIT Media Lab. is already confirmed on 21st of July by Professor Cynthia. And here she is my supervisor. And we also looking forward to see and learn from the ethic of the AI and also the responsible for AI in the education from Professor Cynthia. And if you are all here interested to join, of course, we will send you the registration link. And please also apply and register through the link that we will provide to you after this webinar. And last but not least, what I would like to hear from you here. Thank you for all of your contribution here. And I would like to see from your evaluation. And please scan your QR code here and use your phone and give us some time and provide some feedback that you have learned from our keynote speaker today, from Dr. Pat, and what you capturing, and also what's thing that's still in your mind and you would like to also learn more about in the future, and the next topic that you would like to hear more. I think we have planned for the part 3 and perhaps somehow part 4 also. So right now, your contribution and your engagement here is very, very important for us. So please also help us to know and getting to know more from you here. Ladies and gentlemen, send me another sticker. How do you feel tonight in Boston? It's a raining day and also windy day. And I know that this is around the afternoon time in the Southeast Asia countries. And with the significant event here, Dr. Pat also gonna fly back to the Bangkok. I also still here in the Boston with the MIT Media Lab tonight. And also, we hope the today discussion inspire continuing and also collaborate in the building a future where AI enhance learning while keeping humanity at the center of education. And also, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to wish you a wonderful Friday. And also we look forward to seeing you again in our upcoming webinar series in July and also in August. Thank you and have a good night from Boston. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you for the team from SEAMEO STEMED in Bangkok also for support this webinar, together with our director, Dr. Kesara, and also Dr. Burin to support. Thank you so much. Bye. Have a good night. Thank you all participants here. Thank you so much. Thank you.